What's up, guys? Welcome to Track World News. Got another interview today. Going into the distance world. We're going to try to get a little more of this. We know we got the sprints, we got the jumps with Colin, but now we got Colin Kelly on the other side. And we're going to start this one off with Hannah Steelman. Hannah, thank you for taking time. I know it's definitely a busy time for you, moving with the transition to on running and everything going out to Flagstaff. So I definitely thank you for taking your time today.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. So, let's get right into it. I got high school is Orono, like Oreo, Maine. Let's talk about like high school, talk about running, talk about even about a little bit basketball I see. But let's talk about the running. Your stats, I looked them up and they were obviously very good from what I expected. You were three-time team state champ. And with cross country and track and field, school record in the 4x8, three-time state champ, 1600 and 3200, and then state champ individually cross country. Talk a little bit about, how that was, freshman to senior year, just being the top dog right from the beginning. Was it ever like a difficult time for you? Did you have someone to look up to, a coach, an older teammate? Talk on it.
Yeah, well, I feel like you just gassed up my high school career quite a bit, which I appreciate because, the times now are nothing compared to what high schoolers are doing these days. And actually, like when I came out of high school, they weren't even like anything to like write home about. But yeah, it was a great experience up in Maine. I feel like you don't hear of many runners coming out of Maine, making it pretty far. But there are a few of us that I would say are like pretty good. Like we have like Isaiah Harris, Rachel Snyder, and you always know like they have such like pride being from Maine. So like you always know like who the Mainers are. But yeah, I had a great high school experience. I feel like that's where I kind of fell in love with running. Had no idea, like high school Hannah had no idea that I'd be doing this as my job now, which is just like crazy to think about. But I just had really good coaches that I think took it I don't want to say like the right way, but just like really made sure that they were treating us like high schoolers, not like we were pros at like the high school level. And I feel like that just set me up to progress really well because high school running was really just like fun for me. And I feel like that's what it's all about, was just like having fun and seeing what you can do. And yeah, we were class C in Maine, which is like, it means you go to a relatively small school. But we were pretty dominant in the entire state, like all classes combined. So it was a really good experience. And it set me up well at like joining a team like NC State. That was super good. It was almost like, a high school version of that. So
yeah, kind of looking back at it, you even look at the times like you were running. You were running amazing times, of course, obviously with, you making the progression you are now, but you kind of put on what you just said about the high schoolers now these days. Talking about like kind of like your high school experience, and I know you even had a teammate like Caitlin too, who was, world renowned. Everyone knew who she was. I know you like talked a lot about, what it was different about high school. How would you say now these days for distance runners, I'll say at least, the training and you see a lot of professional runners, even like the young brothers. Just if you could talk a little bit on that.
Yeah. It's funny that you bring that up because after being teammates with Caitlin and honestly, a lot of runners that came from that like super competitive star-studded high school background, it's really funny to like just like hear about their experiences because they're so different from mine. And when I was there, when I was in high school, I was only dreaming of like going to these big meets like Nike Cross Nationals and like Foot Locker and that stuff. Like that was so far out of my wheelhouse at the time. But I always thought like, oh, that'd be so cool, but like that's not me. And they basically like all did that like every year. And so it's just like, it's fun to hear about those because it makes you realize like how small the running world really is, because like they would talk about like how they ran against like people that we race against all the time in college now, at the high school level. And more often than not, they're like names that were good in both high school and college. So it's really cool. But yeah, so my experience, like the biggest meet I went to, I think every year, was the New England Championships, which was just like, all those states up there. And it was like early June, and then that would be the end of my season, and I thought that was like the coolest thing in the world. So yeah, very different experiences for sure, but I think that also goes to show that like there's no like one way to do it, but it is like super impressive what these high schoolers are capable of doing. And honestly, I think had I fully like realized my potential / like committed to running earlier on, I could have done things like that too. Like I have no doubt in my mind. It's just I just like didn't really know what it was to like train in the off season. Like I didn't run in the summer. I played basketball in the winter, so I didn't run in the winter. And yeah, I just like, it's just so funny how different my mindset was in high school compared to college and now.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy you even say that. You like talking about how excited you would be if you went to like NXN or anything like that. Now you're doing what you're doing, all Americans and everything. So like props to you for that. And honestly, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about basketball, because you expect a runner of your caliber, you would think you'd be, like you said, running all year round, maybe taking like 2-3 weeks off for like from outdoor track to summer. What would you say like it kind of helped you like probably not like burn out, because I know both your brothers are basketball players.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like, was it more or less like running in the family, or was it something that you truly did love to do?
Yeah, I would say it's a combination of both. I definitely grew up in a basketball family. My brothers, like you said, played / play collegiately currently. And my dad was a collegiate basketball coach for most of my upbringing. So I was definitely around it all the time, but I had my own passion for it as well. Like I loved basketball season. I looked forward to it every year. I knew it was not going to be what I pursued in college pretty early on because I was more talented in running. I just needed to find that, mindset part two for the running thing. But I knew that I wanted to pursue running in college, and I just kept doing the basketball thing because I wanted to do it for as long as I could. So I know that like, had I been like this like super, super fast high school kid, I probably would have given up the basketball to do indoor. But yeah, at the time, like my realistic goals were try to walk on a college team and, see what I could do in college. So it wasn't like I was like, I don't know, like to me, doing basketball in between cross country and outdoor track was worth it.
Mm. So you said you were obviously big into basketball. Is there like a family team, favorite player? Do you follow that religiously or not really?
This is a little problematic because I went to NC State, but growing up, our team were the Tar Heels, like the UNC Tar Heels, because my family like is from that area, and my dad had a lot of connections with them. So I think it was my senior year of high school, 2017. They won the March Madness tournament, which was super, like at the time, like I was decked out in UNC gear. Like I can't, I'm exposing myself right now. But then the minute that I went to NC State, I said, all right, like I can't be, a UNC basketball fan anymore. But I'd say that was probably my team growing up. And then we like the Golden State Warriors too, for NBA.
Big Steph fan, I'm guessing.
Huge, huge Steph fan. That's like, if he went to another team, then that would be my team. So,
yeah. Okay, that's fine. I guess that's fine. All right. So wrapped up high school. Let's go into your first year of like Wofford. Kind of talk about your family. I know we had kind of already spoke a little bit on your brothers being there and currently being there. How was it like? I couldn't remember what year your brother obviously was when you were a freshman, but was it kind of like a little bit easier when you walked in, or like did you more get brought in by the the women's team?
Yeah. So, um, it's kind of funny that all of the Steelman children ended up going to Wofford at one point or another. So my older brother is 9 years older than me. So he is kind of like how I found out about Wofford because that's where he went for college and he played basketball there. And when I was researching schools and like finding realistic places, where I could run, Wofford was on that list. I mean, I was looking up like, how high schoolers do. Like I was looking up like what their women ran in high school and like what they were currently running. And at the time that was really realistic for me. And I yeah, it was pretty much seamless. I'm emailed with the coach, took one visit, and I mean, he said like you can come walk on our team, like for sure. And yeah, so that's I didn't really take many other visits. I took like maybe like two other visits, and they were also like similar situations, like smaller Division I schools. And yeah, I feel like I also decided pretty late. It was like April of my senior year that I signed. So yeah, so like it all came together at the right time. It was just like it was a little bit stressful there for sure. So yeah, and then I got to Wofford in the fall, and I feel like I was kind of like taken under a lot of like faculty's wings because it is such a small institution that like Steelman, I feel like it's not really a common name. So like you're like, oh wait, like are you Matt Steelman's like little sister? So I felt very welcome from the beginning, and a lot of people like at the time my brother's college coach still coached there, and I knew him pretty well. So like running into familiar faces on campus was fun and everything. And then yeah, it just so happened that my younger brother, who is 2 years younger than me, so he's a senior at Wofford now, was also able to get onto the basketball team. So, and like it all happened like it's not like we all like wanted to go to the same college. I think we all like even wanted to kind of create our different paths. It just like worked out that way.
Yeah, I mean, it's perfect. And I mean, you spoke it, you took it right out of my mouth. I was going to ask next. But I guess talk about the few things that like kind of made it feel like home and you were ready. Like, cause I mean, I have written down here, like what got them get you ready to go to work? Because I mean, if you want, I can start, reading off the highlights again,
Yeah.
because these are some amazing 3-time like freshman team for all cross country, indoor, outdoor, 3-time all Southern conference, 5-time all American and all academic team. I mean, that's a tall task to ask. So like, I mean, they had a front parade for you. I mean, you were ready to go right from the start. So I mean, if you wanted to speak a little bit on that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I alluded to it a little bit earlier, but what I needed was like my mindset to kind of like switch a little bit. And I needed to just like actually fully commit myself to it and just think like, okay, I want to be really good at this. So like it was just like a work ethic change, honestly. I think that summer I realized like, okay, like this is what I've committed to for the next 4 years is like running 3 seasons in a row and going to school, getting my education and running. And so I need to, be ready. And I think I was a little bit scared going into the fall because I was like, I need to be like super fit because I'm joining like college runners. Like the whole ball game is going to change. And so I just actually like started consistently training. It was my first summer I ever like actually did my training. And yeah, like any other program in the country, we were given just like a generic summer training to follow and like mileage and lifting plan. And I really stuck to it, like by the book. Like I was very diligent about it. And I showed up in the fall, at the beginning of the fall on Wofford's campus, and we did a 2-mile time trial. And I ran like 11:10, which I think was a second off of my high school PR, which was 11:09. So I was like, all right, so like that worked out pretty well. And then our first cross country race was a 5K. It was my first 5K in like a year at that point, and I went from like my high school best of 1903. I ran like 17:37, I believe. And then I was like, oh wow, like that summer training like really paid off. And I remember thinking at the time like that was as good as I was ever gonna get, which is just hilarious because I was like ecstatic with that time. And I think from there it was just like staying consistent. I was very fortunate to have a relatively injury-free college career, and I was just able to like, yeah, really be consistent with my training and, doing all the little things better too, like as far as like sleep and, fueling and all that stuff just like kind of came together. And yeah, I had a pretty good freshman year. So yeah, it was just, yeah, it's kind of crazy how much changed in a year.
Yeah, I mean, it's always obviously, going into college. I mean, for a lot of us runners, like most of us never really lifted in high school. So like just doing lifting, doing like all the small things of like really stretching, like getting on a stretching program and
Yeah.
getting like a nutritionist and all that PT. So I mean, it is crazy how much it changes just from your senior year all the way to freshman year. So that's awesome. Kind of wanted to go trying to transition to NC State, but like get in the middle of it where, what was kind of the reasoning of like the transfer? Was it more or less because I know that was in between, was it COVID or was it the year after?
It was COVID, April of 2020. So like when everything was still pretty shut down and everything.
So was it more or less because of COVID, you kind of saw an opportunity? I mean, because NC State, I mean, not saying anything about Wofford, obviously you did amazing things there, but like it's almost like you are making that transition from like how you are for NC State to pro. It's like that's a kind of a tall jump. So I didn't know if you wanted to speak a little bit on that. Was it like tough to transfer or?
Yeah, it all like I knew kind of like halfway through my junior year that I was probably going to finish my collegiate career elsewhere, just because I had obviously going into Wofford not expected to progress as much as I did. And I'm so grateful for that, obviously. And at the time, I just knew that it was the best move for me because I felt like I had kind of exhausted my resources at Wofford. I was doing most of my training solo. When I did have workout partners, it was mostly the guys, and that was great. But there was only so much solo work I could do, before I was going to hit that wall, and I kind of wanted to get on top of it before I did. And then like after going to like so many national meets and stuff, again, like by myself, I would go to cross nationals and see teams, and I'd be like, wow, like that would be incredible to be there with a team, or like outdoor nationals and everything like that. So I just, yeah, I knew pretty early on in my junior year that for me, I needed to make a change. But that I knew it was going to be hard because I loved where I was. Like truly, I loved my coaches, and I mean, clearly the program did so much for me, and I loved my teammates, and I had a lot of friends from the school. So it was definitely just like going to be a hard conversation to have. And I did not like sitting down with my coaches at Wofford and telling them, because it was like, yeah, I was just like sad.
Yeah.
But the plan was, I am like super grateful for all you guys have done for me. I want to like ride this thing out and, go to nationals, like do, the best I can. And then that year, the Olympic trials for 2020, at the beginning of that year, they were, still on. So, and I had qualified for them. So I was like, and I'm going to go and I'm going to rep Wofford at the Olympic trials. And it's going to be like fairy tale ending at Wofford, And then COVID happens, and I'm in Albuquerque, New Mexico for the indoor championships. And we were there for like 18 hours. And then I had to fly back to Spartanburg, South Carolina. And 2 days after that, I'm like packing up my apartment to go back home because everything was going online, and then the season was done, and eventually the trials were canceled. So then that's when I was like, okay, like I guess I officially have to enter the portal. And so then luckily I had very good supportive coaches at Wofford that understood why I was making the move. And they were very helpful throughout the process as far as like pointing me in, whichever direction. And Lori Hennis and Raleigh Geiger, their names came up. And my coach at Wofford, his name is Coach Bomar, told me that he had he just had nothing but positive things to say about them. And I had always kind of had a good view on their program because Wofford was in the same region as NC State. So I'd see them at meets and they were always winning the Southeast region and always running really well. I'd raced a couple races against Ellie Hennis, and she was also always really kind to me. And so yeah, it kind of was like a pretty easy decision to seek out NC State. And when everything shut down, I guess the silver lining of it all was that I got to have these conversations earlier and get excited about the next steps earlier, I guess. But yeah, so it was like April of 2020 that I officially was able to announce that I was transferring to NC State.
Yeah, I mean, it was probably like obviously a very, very good decision to make. I have obviously stats from there too, but
yeah.
Before I get into your few years at NC State, I don't know if you wanted just to say something about those guys or girls who are struggling with trying to make that decision to make that transfer, because it is a big thing. I remember when I made it, was obviously to a small school, to another small Division I school. It still was difficult. You don't want to leave anything behind.
Mm-hmm.
But if you want just to kind of like speak just a little bit about that before we get into NC State, because obviously this was a very, very good decision for you that led to a lot of success. If you wanted just to say that a little bit about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just think like if you're thinking about it, well, first of all, I would say like if you're a new freshman, wait it out at least. Like don't make any hasty decisions in the first semester. The first semester of college is very hard. I was dead set when I got home for Christmas break after my first semester of college that I was going to transfer from Wofford. And then my second semester, I still think was one of the best semesters I had in college. Like just so fun. So like so much better. And I think that just came from like me changing my mindset and being like, I'm going to like enjoy this. Like, even though running was going well, like, I feel like all the other stuff, like, it's just a hard transition from like high school to college. And, but yeah, so I wouldn't judge your first semester. Like I wouldn't judge your whole college experience on your first semester. So note that. But later on, if you're like still thinking like, I just don't know if this is for me, like I don't know if I fit in the best here, like you want to be at a place that feels like home. And for me, like Wofford did feel like home. I just also knew that like my long-term goals in the sport, I needed people to push me to be better every day. I needed I just needed those resources that unfortunately like Wofford just like couldn't really provide for me. And I don't say that in like a negative way. It's just like they tried in every way they could. It's just I needed to be at those more competitive meets, or I needed those resources that those bigger schools have. And I needed the competition in practice too, like that healthy competition to just like push me to be the best athlete I could be. So I think at the end of the day, like with running, you got to be a little bit selfish. And I mean, if you are not getting everything you want out of it, and you hold yourself to that high standard, like, make the decisions that's best for you at the end of the day. And I guess like it's hard to say, like, just you can't worry too much about whose feelings you might hurt because you got to do it for you.
No, I like that. I like how you said, in running, you gotta be selfish. Obviously it's a team. Mostly like all your races are really team, but at the same time you're running for yourself. It's a individual. So I really like how you said that. Going into now NC State, was it kind of like you said, you were in the same region and everything. So was it like awkward when you got there? I mean, you said you've always seen these girls and guys and coaches at these national meets that you've gone to. You went to nationals pretty much almost every season. So, I mean, you saw these girls even at regionals in cross country. So was it a little awkward, but I don't know, because I just from like seeing like pictures of you guys seem like instantly like it was almost like a family to you.
Yeah, that transition was like as close to perfect as perfect can be. And I feel like that's what I tell everybody when they ask this type of question is just like, I feel like I'm very lucky that I did just kind of mesh in really well with everyone. It's funny because like still to this day, I get like people ask me like, what's Wofford? Like I've never heard of Wofford. So a lot of them actually like didn't even really like know who I was slash like, um, that I during COVID I dyed my hair. So I like looked different when I got on campus. Like it was just
A whole different person. You're just a
yeah.
whole different person with
Yeah,
it.
like new school, new me, I guess.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
But yeah, so they yeah, I really like I wouldn't say it was awkward at all. I think like I was very nervous because like why would you be if you're joining like a bunch of other like elite women, and plus like at that time we had like a ton of really fast incoming freshmen. That was Caitlin Tui's class.
Mhm.
And so I was like, okay, like I'm about to join like a really good team. Like, and so I was just trying to like fully embrace it and like be excited about it and not be like too or not succumb to the pressure too much. I feel like for some reason I felt like I had like big shoes to fill. And at the same time, I was just really trying to be thankful because like this is what I wanted. Like
Yeah.
I wanted to join a team that would make me better athlete, better person. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you already spoke on a couple of the girls that you like gravitated to. I mean, it's funny. Like I always talk about Caitlin too, just because we and her went to a cross country camp, and she was just such a sweet girl. But
Mm-hmm.
like all the girls on that team, you just seemed like you had a great time with them. So it's awesome that it's not just like one or two girls. It seemed like like 10, 15 of you. It was just from 1 to
Yeah.
15. It was awesome. And you always love to see that. It's not like a top 5 click and then that's it. It looks
Mm-hmm.
like I feel like every picture you see on social media or even at like nationals, you always see all of you, which is awesome to see. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I obviously you have a great highlights of your college career at NC State, the short time you had. But I wanted to speak just a little bit on, I was looking at in your Instagram a little bit everything, and this past outdoor season, how special that was for you and your teammates to make another national meet, especially when you lose a shoe. Just talk.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
wanted to just talk a little bit on that and why it was so special. Why all like
Yeah.
why social media you see, you guys are crying and happy. I mean, even personally,
Yeah.
you know why it was so special.
Yeah. It had been just like a very roller coaster of a year for me personally. I had, I was dealing with a pesky little injury for like dating back to last September. And so it just like put a lot of damper on my training, just like it was super inconsistent. And I felt like that entire cross country season, my goal was just like, okay, we're making it to like we're getting on that starting line at NCAA's and we are going to be as fit as we possibly can off of this like janky training. And we're going to get the title for the team that day. And then, we'll focus on what's next. And then I got a little greedy and I pushed myself a little too far trying to do a fast race at Boston. And that's when I kind of pushed my body over the edge and was forced to sit out the indoor season, which I had never had to do. I'd never had to miss a season. And, happening in your 5th year when you're, trying to sign a contract. I mean, it was a lot. Like, I was like, this timing couldn't be worse. Like, but I was very motivated to come back in outdoor and make the national meet, and see what I could do, so it had been a long year. And I'd had other little things pop up, like insect bite, like poisonous insect bites and sicknesses. And again, like coming back from injury was just such a mental and physical battle. I had never started from basically ground zero before, and it was so humbling. Like coming back, those first couple workouts were just like, oh, it was like it takes a toll on you. Like and getting back into races, I wasn't racing like as fast as I wanted, and I've always struggled with patience, so I was having a hard time being patient and trusting everything. But yeah, at regionals, I do the 10K. I'm honestly, like, if I'm, to be 100% transparent, I'm honestly thinking like I got this in the bag. Like the pace went out super relaxed and slow. It felt like slower than a tempo run. And I was like, all right, I can easily like be in the top, I think 12 right now. And then my shoe comes off like pretty early on. It gets stepped on, but then it completely comes off halfway through. And I try to run the other half, and I'm like, okay, I cannot, like, my foot's going to be raw if I keep doing this. And I was thinking, okay, you still have the 5K, but it's like when that happened, like I was just like, oh, of course my shoe comes off. And yeah, so I had to reset, and that day in between the 10K and the 5K at regionals was the longest day of my life, and I was a nervous wreck. Because at that point I hadn't really put down any spectacular 5K times this season. So I was like, all right, we're going to stick our nose in it. And, coach gave me a race plan and followed it pretty much to a T. And I was able to make it happen. But then the real special thing was like, so did 4 of my other teammates. And so I think like all my like hardships that I faced throughout the year, just like all kind of came together. And then along with just like the feeling of teamwork and basically like the reason that I transferred to NC State, I saw a lot of that come to fruition during my time there. Like when we won nationals, but like moments like that too, where I feel like they helped me because I was just like attaching myself to them basically. And I was like, all right, you train with these women every day. Like you can race with them too, like obviously. And I feel like, I don't know, I'm not a super emotional person, I would say, but I was just like overwhelmed after that race. And like, Caitlin comes up to me and she's like, "You did it, Hannah. Oh my gosh." And like, I just like, I was a wreck, but it was like, it was like happy tears though. And those are the best kind. So, I was just super grateful. And, I just like was really excited to try to put it all together again. In Eugene 2 weeks later. So it was a really special day. And it makes all like the harder days worth it. Those are the type of days in the sport that we're like, okay, this is why I do this.
Yeah, I mean, end of the season, you go from having 2 chances to make it a nationals to really, you have to cut one short. So yeah, I mean, it only makes sense. Like you cross that finish line, you're like, geez, like, thank you.
Like the season's still alive.
Yeah, the dream's still alive. So that's awesome. And just watching you guys finish it, all 5 of you, that's just, I remember watching it at national. I was like, this is insane. Like you look at the line and you're like, wow, this is like, it's a special moment. So that is awesome. So obviously you go from one amazing moment to like nationals and everything, right into, to On Running. I mean, it obviously was not a shock to the running world that you were going to go professional. It was, where are you going to go? Just kind of talk about the transition from college to pro. I mean, you were going from, running because you had a scholarship because of education to now this is your job. Like you said, was it more nervous, less nervous? Like, what would you say? Obviously, with the little time that went on.
Yeah, I think it still hasn't, like, it's hit me, but like still not really, like, especially right now when I'm just like doing base training and mileage, it's just like, oh, I just feel like I'm in college minus the classes. So like I'm literally just like running. But I got to race a couple races in my new On kit, which was really cool this summer. And I did feel very nervous before both of them, but I don't even think it was because like, oh, this is my job now. I think it's just because like I really wanted to, represent them as best I could. And I guess, when you do put on that kit and you're sponsored by a brand, it becomes like so much bigger than yourself. Like, fortunately at NC State, I kind of had that mindset. I had good practice with like, okay, doing this for something greater, like doing this for others around me. And then like, you sign the pro contract and you're like, okay, now I've got all these other new people in my circle. So I'm doing it for even more people. And Yeah, so it was all just like pretty surreal, I think. And I was just trying to enjoy it as much as I could rather than like feel too much pressure. I also just, I wanted to race really well in the summer because I had like, nothing like besides like making nationals, everything like that was great. Like I wanted to run fast, like faster times, because I feel like I had really nothing that happened in the spring that was like super like jaw dropping or anything. But yeah, this just like wasn't the year for me. I didn't really get the build that I would usually get in the winter with the injury and everything. But I was just grateful that I had racing opportunities this summer. Obviously I would have loved to debut at USA's, like that would have been like the dream. But I was just not able to run that fast this year. But it's all good because I was just like super grateful to be able to sign a contract and get my journey started with On. And I think we have a really bright future ahead. And yeah, I'm feeling good and healthy. And, it's nice to get that little reset after Sir Walter Myler. So yeah, I'm excited for what's to come.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like the team is just growing. It's insane, going from a team that, had, a few very good athletes to now, like you guys are, I mean, most
Yeah,
of
On is
you
getting,
will be qualifying for, I can say, the Olympics and, being on the team, not just qualifying for the trials, but like I can see at least one On athlete, if not two, in each event. I mean, you guys,
oh yeah.
it's insane. So I think you being optimistic is not just it's a good thing for you, but at the same time, like you have some amazing training partners that I think you will, very easily be able to pop back. And I think, like you said, taking that step back, taking that break, a breather of, celebrating what you've done. I mean, that's awesome. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I remember seeing that picture. I think it was you, Yard Nagoose, Mario Garcia, Courtney. Is it Courtney?
Yeah. Wait a minute.
Yeah. So seeing the four of you, like in that, like I can't remember who posted it, but seeing the four of you in that picture, I was just like, what? This is the Golden State Warriors of
the power team.
You
guys,
no, are a powerhouse now.
I am in some great company, that's for sure. On has done a great job getting athletes, and clearly they have an eye for this sort of thing. So that's also I don't know, I feel like that encourages me a lot because I'm like, okay, like they see a lot of potential in me, and my job is to go out there and exceed all those expectations. So
yeah, no, I think you'll easily do that. Talking about now, like you said, we both kind of said On kind of just came onto the spot and has been ruling the track world. For you, do you think you're going to be seeing more, like having to do more promotion of On, like social media work? And then in like a second part of that question would be, what do you think you could do as now a professional athlete for On to help the track world get, the views it needs on these, like, I mean, let's face it, even though I would like to say we're the more superior sport in the world, how can we get people to watch, runners like you, runners on the team? What do you think you can do now as a sponsored athlete?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely, to answer the first part of your question, I definitely see myself doing more like promotional stuff for On. I mean, in professional contracts, like you have a little bit of that written in there, but I mean, their stuff is not hard for me to promote at all. The gear is legit. The shoes are awesome. Like, I am very, proud to be part of this company and to represent them. And then for the second part, I just think like, just trying to be like authentic with it as possible. Like I feel like a lot of things like within the running world can feel very curated, especially when it comes to social media. And it's just like, I think just like showing that authenticity and kind of like, I don't know, I like how more athletes are kind of sharing more of their like day-to-day lives and I don't know, not like all adopting this like one size fits all type of thing, because that's just not how the sport works. It's never how the sport has worked, even if social media tries to tell you that or whatever you see. And yeah, I just think like more athletes just like kind of being just like who they are, even if it is like some like promotional thing, like making that, I guess like the way that I say it to people is like, I try to make this like as least like cringy as possible. Like I'm not like trying to like necessarily sell you anything, but like genuinely tell you like why I love it, or like yeah, what makes it special to me, like that kind of stuff. And I agree with you, like the sport has a long way to go, but I do think in the past couple of years we've seen a lot of good strides made. Like I feel like there's been a lot of like little magazines that have popped up, and they're trying to share more about like who the athletes are as people, not just like their accomplishments on the track. Because I think it's really interesting to find out like what people have done in their lives that has kind of like made their like helps them become like how successful they are on the track. Like I've been listening to a lot of podcasts lately, and recently I listened to one about Heather McLean. I hope I'm saying that right, but she's an Olympian, and she kind of comes from a similar background that I do, like the smaller Division I school, and she was just kind of talking about how like running was never really her life, and she did a really good job just like finding balance. And after she found a good balance, and like I guess it was like the formula to her success, because then like she found that she was her happiest self when she had an equal balance between like, okay, yes, like running is my job in my life, but I have other things that I enjoy in life too. And then she makes her, first Olympic team, and I'm sure she'll make several other international teams. So yeah, all that to say, that kind of stuff really interests me. It's just like, yeah, knowing more about who the athletes are as people, and them sharing, their authentic lives.
Yeah, I mean, even when you say talk about the promotional stuff, I mean, like, those pictures you guys are taking when you with your new gear and everything, it looks like you guys, you see obviously On running and you guys posting like stories, like videos. It looks like you guys are really having fun with it. It's not like On's like, yo, go out, take pictures, and then that's it. Like it looks like you seriously are having fun. And I think, maybe in this near future, I can see, On and all these other different, clubs making like a YouTube and like showing like kind of how like new gen is doing it, like showing it every day, like, yeah, like you can see the workouts and what they're eating and all that, but at the same time what they're doing on the on the other 16 hours they're awake, instead of just the running part of it, which always is interesting. But that's something I feel like the running world does that no other sport does. Like I feel like other sports you have to really like push your athletes to promote something, whereas for us it's like fun. It's I think I remember seeing on your Instagram, I think I saw you had when you first had it, you guys had a photo shoot and it looked fun. Looked like a good time.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm sure we were all really excited to be like in the new kit and everything, but like that is the point. Like we do this because we find joy in it, not just because it's like a job. I just think like at the end of the day, you need to be doing what you're passionate about, what you find joy in. And a sport like running, which is so hard, if I didn't find joy in it, like I don't think I'd be able to like do it all the time, it's way too hard. So you gotta, find the fun in it.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna ask also, you said perfectly, leading to my like one of my last questions is, trying to find now that balance. Obviously you went to a powerhouse school and now you're going to be a part of a professional team. Find that balance of like mental health and like obviously you have to be at your physical like best, but like mentally and emotionally, like how do you for say like with a team or by yourself, how do you keep yourself mentally and physically all that sane? I mean, just to give a little bit for listeners and everything like me who wants to continue running.
Yeah, the mental aspect is huge, and I'm still figuring that out. I feel like we all are. It's kind of like a trial and error thing. But I heard someone say one time like that your brain is kind of like a muscle where like you have to train it, and it needs to recover, and like um and it's just like that mental aspect can like make or break your running. And so like you need to tend to your mind like you would any other, like, yeah, like any other muscle, tendon, whatever. And so I think seeing a sports psych, I think, is huge. I also like personally, I like to journal and just kind of get my thoughts out on paper. I also find a lot of my relief and like a lot of calmness in my time that I spend with the Lord, because I am a believer, and I think that's huge for me. But yeah, like I said, none of us are perfect, and we're still figuring it out. And I feel like some days mental health is absolutely great. Other days it's kind of like, like I'm not feeling it. Like I'm feeling a little bit discouraged today. Like, and sometimes it's like for no reason. It's just, that's life. And yeah, so still figuring it out for sure. But I think it's important to at least be trying to figure that out. I don't think it's anything that should be ignored or left on the back burner. I think, honestly, I think it's like one of the more important things in sport is, your mental health.
Yeah, I mean, because especially in our sport, I mean, it's one of those sports that you can always be better. You can always go faster. You can always, have a better race. But it's remembering, you can always be better, but it takes time for that, and not trying to force it. And then, then you start to get aggravated with yourself. So I think it's awesome you said all that stuff.
Yeah,
I think we're all still figuring out. I think even the pros who have been in it for years are still trying to figure out. So that's very reassuring.
Yeah, and that goes back to what I was saying earlier. Like, I feel like more pros are opening up about that kind of stuff, and I think it's good to like have more awareness on that. Because like, I don't know, I feel like people see pros and or like any professional athlete, any sport, and they think they've just like got it all together and that everything's perfectly fine, and like something's wrong with them, like the viewer, because they don't have it all together and they're not fine. So like, I could never be a pro, or like whatever, like I wish I were them. Like that's just like, that's not reality. And that's also why I say it's important to find joy in it. Because then like after like a performance that you didn't necessarily want, you're not like, it doesn't take the life out of you, like just completely wipe everything else off. Like, you're still excited to come back to practice on, the next day, and try to, change the narrative and do better the next time. It's not like, I feel like it's really important to not let sport define you either. And also, find other passions outside of your sport.
Yeah, I mean, you're like obviously it seems like I'm just hyping you up, but truthfully, you are a great example of. We talked about your regional race where some people who would go to that 10K and have to walk out would be like, there's no way. So for you to, it's so easy to like celebrate the good times, but it's even like harder to cope with the hard times and trying to reset yourself. So it's awesome. It was awesome for that. I mean, anyone who was probably watching was like, oh man, how is she going to do this? And for you to do it was, not only showing of your physical like greatness, but it also showed like what kind of like human being you are, what kind of person you are. So that's why I asked. But I do want to ask, I totally forgot, talking about the views and everything. Obviously you see now these days, these football players and everything challenging, like Trayvon Bowmel is being challenged by Tyreek Hill. And now you have Shelly Ann challenging, one of the best pole vaulters that has ever lived. I mean, if you were to say personally, who would be like the equivalent? Like, what if like, just for say Steph Curry, where it'd be like, I can definitely take Hannah Steelman in a 5K. Like, would you think that's something that's positive for, the track world, or you think, these other athletes need to like, realize that, it's not a walk in the park for us?
Yeah, I feel like that's tricky, because I feel like, okay, if we're using the Steph Curry thing, I think I need to think of somebody else, because like if it's Steph, I'm just like, oh my gosh, like he used my name in a sentence / like I would do that just to have the opportunity to
Yeah.
meet and say I ran against Steph Curry. But I just feel like you can kind of tell, you have to like really like read or I feel like you can tell like what tone they're using. And I feel like if it's actually something that's like, I don't know, like more like a joke or just like trying to like be fun and funny and friendly, like, okay, fine. But I probably wouldn't ever tell you like, oh, play me one-on-one.
Yeah.
Because first of all, like, I know I would lose. Like, that's literally your job. Second, like, why would I ever say that? Yeah, I feel like it gets brought up in our sport a lot more than others. And yeah, it kind of does feel like a disrespect thing because people think that they can do that and like get away with it. But yeah, if it's like not in like if it's not in like a mean way or like a cocky way of like, oh, I could beat that time any day, then I guess I don't really see a problem with it. But yeah, I guess like if it is in that like more cocky tone, it's like, okay, you don't see anybody like challenging you to your sport. So I don't really understand. Yeah, I just don't think many people realize how hard this sport is and how much dedication and time it takes. And yeah, it's not really fun when someone's like poking fun at your sport like that. So yeah, I guess it's like a tone thing.
Yeah, I think with like Duplantis and Cheyenne, it was like they were at Diamonds and they had interviews and like
Yeah, like that's
a fun thing.
Yeah, that's totally different when it's like, I guess like more from an outside,
Yeah.
or like, I don't know, like I've had so many sprinters like just mess with me a little bit and be like, oh my gosh, like let's race right now, like I could take you, and I know that they're joking and it's like, oh yeah, like haha, same, like I could beat you in a 100, like it's totally friendly.
Yeah.
But like yeah, when people from like outside sports are kind of poking in and like you can't really tell like what their motive is or like their angle, yeah, it can get a little like, I don't know,
Dicey. You get a little dicey, 100%.
yeah, that's yeah, a good way to put it.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like bad publicity is good publicity, especially for our sport.
Yeah.
Like when the one I remember is when Tyreek Hill was coming at Usain Bolt, was like, I'll put up my Super Bowl ring to your Olympic gold medals. And it's like, that's just disrespectful. You gotta think like, wow,
Yeah.
how could you compare those two? One that happens every year to one that happens every 4, especially however many he has. So
Yeah.
that's
And like, yeah, and like, yeah, one was like individual and one was like a team. Like, I mean, they're both special, but
then, yeah.
yes, it's just like, I don't know, why do we have to bring that up? Like, just celebrate the sports for what they are. And
yeah, trust me, I think, you know, what Tyreek Hill and everyone's doing, I think that is, you know, they're a different type of breed. I think that like then they're like, oh yeah, I did track in high school, and it's like, okay, all right.
Yeah, I think like if any like athlete from other sport, like just like if I were just thrown into another professional sport, like I would then have a whole new respect for what they do every day. Like I think if you're a professional athlete, period, like you automatically have a lot of my respect because it's a hard thing to do. But I think if you put any of these athletes in a professional track athlete's shoes, then they would maybe understand better. Like, okay, just kidding, I'm not going to poke fun at this anymore.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah.
All right, well, that's all the questions I have. We did put up on Instagram some fan questions, so I'm just gonna read a few off to you.
Great, let's do it.
How it is. So obviously, I'm just gonna say this one because we talked about it before the interview, and I made a mistake. So Taylor Madison said, "What's your name and how do you pronounce it?"
Okay, my name is Hannah Steelman, so that is how you pronounce it. It's Steelman. Steel, like man of steel, except Steelman.
Yes, I mean,
yeah,
I fall short of it. I did say Steelman. I will say that.
It is all good, you know. That's why we clarify.
Great, it's a great question. It's a great question. Emma G 1777 says, "How do you pronounce ant? AUNT?"
Yeah, I say ant. Yeah, that's Emma. She and Nikki Hiltz are out here, and I was out to dinner with them last week, and I was still testing the waters with them because that was like only like my second time hanging out with them, I think. And at this point, I literally ran with them like every other day this past week. but we were talking and I was mentioning how I'm an aunt and I didn't know how they would respond to that. So I said aunt or aunt. Like in the same, like I literally used both words in the same sentence and just like continued to talk casually. And they were like, did you just say both like pronunciations? And I was like, yeah, like I don't know why I did that. And yeah, I think the conclusion was just like I was testing the waters, but both of them also say aunt. So ended it up being fine. But yeah, I think in Maine, everyone says aunt. And so I used to get made fun of for saying aunt all the time because people would be like, oh, your uncle's married to like an ant, like the insect. And I'd be like, oh, haha, like so funny. But it like kind of, you know, you get a little insecure about it. So
It's a
but yes,
yeah, we get the same thing. I hate
yeah,
that.
I say aunt.
Okay. Yeah,
So
we have
yeah.
the same thing up in I'm from Scranton, Pennsylvania. So I got the same
Mhm.
thing of Scranton or Scranton. So it's the
Yeah.
same thing like in on. I mean, in the Northeast area you hear both. And it's so
Yeah.
yeah, it's rough waters out there.
Yeah. Well, that was a really funny question. Emma did tell me that she asked me the question. So I'm excited that we already got, we already got to hear what that was.
This is from All Day Running. She actually has two, and I'll give you both of them. What
All right.
makes a good travel day outfit?
What makes a good travel day outfit?
Yeah.
Okay. You got to be comfy cute, I think. So I like either like a dress or a skirt, but like a comfy one or matching sets. Those are the best. I think that she might be looking for me to say blazer, but that's because we had to do business casual at NC State for travel. And so that like to instantly make it business casual, I would just wear my blazer. But I think if it's up to me, I'm going for like comfy cute.
What was the best travel day outfit for you? Like in your whole like from high school all the way now. We'll throw it up like right here. We'll throw it up. What is it? What was the best one?
Okay, the best one I guess that I had, this is kind of going against my own personal rules, but it was one of those business casual days, and it's when we chartered down to nationals in Tallahassee last November for cross country. And I had leather pants, like a white button up and then a leather jacket. And then at, NC State's an Adidas school. So I was wearing my Stella McCartney sneakers. So it was a fit. It was a fit. And then we got pictures coming down the stairs, when you're like getting off the airplane.
Yeah.
And, Nick Hall, who was like the photographer traveling with us, gave me this like briefcase to hold for the photo. And that was a pretty epic. I'll pat myself on the back for that one. That was a pretty epic one. But it definitely wasn't comfy. And I think comfort is huge on travel days. So I probably wouldn't repeat that outfit, but I am proud of that one.
10 out of 10 outfit coming down, getting ready to go on some movie theater stuff right there.
Yeah, getting ready to win a national championship,
Little flex. Our other question was favorite place to run in Flagstaff and Raleigh.
Ooh, okay. I haven't really. Somebody asked me the other day what my favorite Flagstaff running location was, and I feel like I can't really answer that yet because I still need to do a lot of running out here. But so far, I really enjoy a good run. I've always loved Belmont. Like I've visited Flagstaff before, so like I like Belmont for longer runs, and then I have also been enjoying Mailboxes, which is off Lake Mary Road. We've been doing that quite a bit. But yeah, I guess, did Savannah ask that one? All day running? She asked that one? Yeah, she can check back later for that answer. But in Raleigh, I don't know. I really like Crabtree. I'd say that's my favorite. It's like good and hilly, but on the way back, it's all downhill. So you cruise on the way back and it goes by really fast. And I don't know, that when you run out there on those hills, it gets you fit. So I like that run.
Easy run, but not easy run.
Yeah.
Hard beginning, easy in the end. The next question is from Saltor 1004. Who's the best TikToker on NC State University team?
Oh, I mean, I guess I have to say Sarah Latour. Yeah, Sarah's very good at TikTok. Yeah, I'll give her that one. We have a lot of good TikTokers, I guess. I guess I could say me too, but I'm not on the team anymore. So I'll say Sarah.
Yeah, I mean, not to again pat yourself on the back, but
yeah.
you
And
can
I'm actually really not that good at TikTok. It's
you could be the best
yeah,
TikToker on. There you go.
Yeah, I'll do that.
And this one is from Aaliyah Miller 28. What's your favorite item on the On running gear?
I like that question. I like their bike shorts. I think they're like the most versatile thing I think I have, because they can be worn like on runs, like they're super comfy and breathable and good for that. But then they're also like really stylish, so you can dress them up or dress them down, whatever. And I just like really like bike shorts. I think they're really cute. So those are probably my favorite. And I also have like quite a few pair of them, so I can wear them like a lot throughout the week. And it's definitely probably the thing that I've worn the most since getting the gear.
What about your favorite, like not obviously trainers, but like, your walking shoes?
Yeah. So on recent, like, I mean, they're kind of newer. The Rogers, which are like more like the street style on shoe, are really nice. They come in lots of different like color waves and stuff, but they're white, but like you can get like different colored details on them and everything. And I really like those because I think people don't typically think of On as being like a street style shoe. So when people like compliment me on those sneakers when I'm wearing them, and they'll be like, "Are those from On?" I'll be like, "Yeah, like On has stepped up their game." And yeah, they're really good shoe. They're like the Roger Federer's, like the tennis player, it's his shoe.
Yeah.
And I'm a huge fan. I have like 4 different pair in different colors. So yeah, big fan.
One of the last fan questions actually is from Track World News. What is your favorite pre-race meal the day before and day of?
Yeah. Okay. So day before, if we're talking like night before, I feel like I've gotten to that point in my career where I don't really like have a like super set in stone routine anymore as far as food goes. So most of the time I'm eating, like if we're traveling and like we're going out and there's something on the menu that sounds good and I know my stomach can handle it, I'll get that. But for the longest time, and sometimes still, I really like a good like wood-fired margarita pizza, which sometimes that surprises people, but it's actually like a really like good balanced meal when you think about it. Like you got your carbs, a little bit of protein, and like your fats and everything. It's like a really good meal. And then I'll get like a veggie on the side or something to check all the boxes. But yeah, so I feel like I'm not like necessarily too strict about night before. The morning of is when I'm like a little more particular. And if it's a night race, I like to have pancakes the morning of and like a big breakfast. And then like I'll do my shakeout. And then for lunch, it's usually a turkey sandwich, pretty, basic routine standard. And then my last like meal will be the oatmeal peanut butter banana. Like I feel like that's pretty by the book. But then if it's a morning race and I have time to have a full breakfast, then I'll do the oatmeal peanut butter banana.
Nice.
Yeah. So yeah, pretty boring, but I like the post-race meals the best. Those are my favorite.
If it works, it works. I mean,
yeah.
That's how it is. Yeah, the post-race is the best because it's just like, all right, now I can kind of.
It's usually something really good for me at least.
So that's all the fan questions we have. I wanted to give this time to you to speak on whatever you may want. If it's for your next upcoming races, if you want to talk about whatever you want.
I don't really know too much about what my schedule looks like for now. I'm just adjusting to the altitude, and I'm going to get super fit and have a big year hopefully. But yeah, I mean, I'm just super excited, and I feel very fortunate to have this opportunity to run for On. And I'm excited to be out here in Flagstaff to, like I said, get super fit and make the most out of it. So yeah, thank you so much for having me on.
No, we appreciate it, Hannah. We will definitely be cheering for you. You're now, obviously, you're one of On's athletes, but now you're one of ours. So we will always be cheering for you no
Thank
matter
you.
what race you will be in. We'll give you all the publicity you need. Yeah, thank you, Hannah. We appreciate it. And good luck with your future endeavors.
Thank you so much.